My name is Amy Mejia, and I am an Equal Justice Works AmeriCorps Legal Fellow at the Public Law Center.
I'm Cynthia Holton. I'm the family law attorney at the Public Law Center. A conservatorship case is when a disabled adult needs someone else to represent his or her legal interests.
Typically because of some sort of disability, usually some sort of cognitive disability, they're unable to make decisions for themselves.
The Lopez case was referred to the Public Law Center by Angela Acevedo, a nurse navigator.
The characteristics of the referral were something that really catch my attention more so. So I immediately emailed the PLC, and as always, before I finish the email, the answer is back. We are there for you. When can we meet with the family? When can we meet with the patient?
What was unique about this conservatorship case is that Veronica Lopez did not have any sort of cognitive impairment. What Veronica's issue was, she was deaf and she had never been taught any sort of formal sign language.
Well, Veronica has had a very active role in her family, and her family's a very cohesive family, and she's actually raised a number of the children in the family. Her sign language is a homegrown type of sign language. Everyone in the family has learned this sign language.
This worked really well for them for many years, but they ran into a problem when she was diagnosed with cancer.
Veronica Lopez had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and she needed treatment sooner than later. But the doctors were not convinced that Veronica would be able to understand the nature of her disease and the nature of her treatment because she is unable to use standard sign language.
So we knew right from the beginning that this was something we had to act on very quickly because Veronica's medical treatment was being put on hold pending the outcome of the conservatorship case.
The team on this case was Angela Acevedo, the nurse navigator, Leslie Lindgren, Amy Mejia, and myself, who were all attorneys at the Public Law Center.
Right from the start of the case, two of Veronica's sisters, one sister-in-law, and then her brother, really stepped forward in wanting to be very involved with making sure Veronica got all of her treatment needed to make sure she got better. Immediately after the hearing where the conservatorship was granted, we know that she was able to get treatment started, and she's currently in treatment now.
I always like to work with the community. Ever since I was little, I remember. Sometimes they need somebody that is from the same culture to be able to help them to address those needs.
I really enjoyed working with Leslie and Amy on the case. I think that the way Amy, Leslie, and I work together is very typical of the way attorneys at the Public Law Center work together. It doesn't matter whether it's family law, whether it's a landlord-tenant issue, a business issue. We all work together to give clients a successful outcome.
I'm Antoinette Nador-Valta, Equal Justice Works AmeriCorps Legal Fellow at the Public Law Center. We met Patrick last year at the Orange County Stand Down in August.
In my daily works, running around, I saw signs and billboards and heard it on the radio, stand down in Costa Mesa.
The Orange County Stand Down is where homeless and at risk of being homeless veterans go over a weekend to get some basic needs and supplements.
They have legal aid as is in the bold print.
Pro bono legal work, both civil and criminal, food, anything that you can ask for, they have at Stand Down.
Oh wow, well, I qualify for that. I think I'm gonna go check that out.
Patrick told his story, and it really grabbed the hearts of all the attorneys. Not only was he employed and wrongfully taken away from his employment and not paid, but they also wrongfully kept his personal belongings.
We're talking about my medications, my wheelchair, and everything I've ever owned. And if you took everything I've ever owned, none of it would matter anything to me as much as my beret did.
This came to us mainly as a landlord-tenant case and also as a breach of contract, but it was more than that. It was personal. They were holding one of our nation's heroes' personal belongings against his will.
I'm used to fighting my own battles, taking my own struggles on. There's only room for my fists on this sword. Here I am, you know, living on the beach and begging for food here and there. You know, that day comes when the phone rings and there's an email in my box from Antoinette, and I'm thinking, okay, we're getting places now. Now I can see the wheels are turning. You know, it's like all of a sudden, I mean, everything is so dark in your world, and all of a sudden it's blink, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
There was a lot of trouble with the case, given that the landlord was extremely abusive, not only to Patrick, but to our staff as well. And that didn't deter us. In fact, we remained calm. We spoke with the landlord and we made her a very, in my opinion, generous agreement to settle the case. We did eventually settle the case and get all of Patrick's items returned and his money back.
Knowing that you actually have Public Law Center behind you really makes a big difference. What you guys have done for me and the gratitude I have for your company, words can't describe. But I'm surely grateful to you guys for everything you've done for me and the way you've come into my life and helped me out. I'm so grateful, and it will also echo the halls of the Long Beach Veterans Hospital as I speak to other veterans. We don't let stories die, and your name won't either. Thank you. My name is Patrick Taylor. Served in the Army 82nd Airborne Division. I am a son, a father, a veteran, a survivor.
I'm Chelsea Epps, and I'm in my 5th year as a business litigation associate at Rutan & Tucker.
Natalie Samarjian. I'm a first-year employment and labor associate at Rutan & Tucker.
My name is Manmeet Soni, and I'm an Equal Justice Works Fellow at the Public Law Center.
Every month we get an email from the Public Law Center about various cases that they need help on. In this instance, I actually had done an asylum case in law school and found it extremely, extremely rewarding, and I knew I had this background in asylum law, and so I was wanting to see if the Public Law Center had any active cases that I could help out on.
Asylum gives a person who's persecuted in their home country an opportunity to flee that persecution and receive legal status in the U.S.
I had been in touch with Chelsea because we had spoken before about her interest in wanting to take an affirmative asylum case. So when this case came around, she was the first person I reached out to.
We got this case from the Public Law Center. It was a really interesting case. It involved a young female client who had escaped her country of origin under really horrendous circumstances.
So this client's case involves incredibly sensitive issues, and we can't even get into the details about this case because her own life is still at risk.
Her father had actually been imprisoned and killed as a result of his political activities, and her brother had also been imprisoned and beaten as a result of his political affiliation.
She had been persecuted for her political opinion and then was subsequently trafficked to another country in the Middle East, then arrived to the United States from the Middle East. And so we had multiple grounds for seeking asylum.
The facts of this case were especially sensitive and really, really unfortunate in what this woman had endured.
We felt her pain, and we knew her story. We knew how much she had overcome, and we, at this point, were just so invested in her having this new beginning.
It's always been a personal goal of mine to have at least one pro bono case. I've always been involved in sort of public interest type work. My father is actually deaf, and I grew up fluent in American Sign Language and volunteered a lot with disability rights groups and other underprivileged populations. So it's just been a really important part of who I am.
My mother and I emigrated to the U.S. When I was 5 years old from Lebanon, and it was our new beginning. We escaped civil war in Lebanon and poverty, and I felt the promise that a new beginning would mean for her and the possibilities that could be afforded to her. So it was really just very rewarding.
To me, freedom is something that's absolutely unquantifiable. It's not something that you could put a price tag to. You know, it's completely something that defines your state of being.
It's incredibly, incredibly touching. It really puts things into perspective. I think, here we're so fortunate, and it's very easy to take things for granted, and to see the amount of strength and courage and perseverance from someone who is just so thankful just to not live in fear anymore.
Thank you for Natalie and Chelsea and Public Law Center. helping me to be free.